So what's the impact of President Biden as vice president, actually as former vice president, having had in his possession classified documents akin to former President Trump? What's the impact on the potential prosecution of former President Donald Trump for having had the documents at Mar-a-Lago that we're all more familiar with? Maybe none. Maybe it's of no significance whatsoever. My hunch is that it makes it harder to prosecute Donald Trump just for the Mar-a-Lago documents. And here's how I get there. By outsourcing to Jack Smith the responsibility for making a determination as to whether to prosecute Trump for the Mar-a-Lago documents, obstruction of justice, among other things, I think that Merrick Garland may have boxed himself into a corner, because when he hands that responsibility to Smith, Smith's purview really is to determine, was the law broken and can it be proven? Without any nuance for public policy and the fact that you're indicting a former president of the United States. I think he likely comes back to Garland, to Attorney General Garland, and says, yes, I recommend that you bring this case. Well, what else is Garland going to prosecute Trump for? Something related to January 6th? I don't know. Does something come out of New York from an investigation there? We don't know. Does something come out of the Fonnie Willis Atlanta investigation for the perfect phone call? We really don't know. But if they are only going to prosecute for the Mar-a-Lago documents, I think many people will say, wait a minute, there were a myriad of investigations. You can already hear Trump saying they had X number of investigators, X number of lawyers. They spent all that money, and in the end, all they're going to prosecute me for are having documents at Mar-a-Lago that I declassified because I had the power. I think it's already a difficult case, and now factor into it all the whataboutism of people who will say, well, wait a minute, Joe Biden did the exact same thing, Hillary with her server and the bleach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I don't know whether you get before a jury evaluating an indictment of Donald Trump for the Mar-a-Lago documents, the information pertaining to Biden and his documents or Hillary and her server. But in the court of public opinion, everybody's going to hear all about this. So it probably makes it a bit more difficult if you're only prosecuting Trump and you're not prosecuting Biden as well. By the way, I want to make this crystal clear. I'm not saying it's an apples to apples comparison, because according to the accounts we've read so far, I think we know, based on the paper trail we've seen, Donald Trump was completely recalcitrant. And if he, when asked, had returned to the government's possession the documents that he should not have had, there never would have been application made to a grand jury for a subpoena. But he put his thumb in the eye of the investigators, and consequently they felt like they had no alternative. In the case of Joe Biden, and there's this issue as to why didn't we know it sooner, because it happened a week before the midterm. But if you accept the chronology, and I do, I have no reason to doubt it, when discovery was made by Biden's representative that they had documents that should not have been in his possession, they immediately told the National Archives, and within 24 hours handed over that information. I mean, that's not apples to apples, with Trump keeping, for ego purposes, the ability to impress visitors to Mar-a-Lago, that which he had in his possession, and being, a refusenik, if that's still a word, in terms of not handing back to the government that which was the government's. So, bottom line, I don't see the two cases as being synonymous, but I do think as a practical matter that the discovery of classified documents by Biden as a former vice president is going to have some impact on a prosecution of Trump if the only thing they're going to prosecute Trump for is Mar-a-Lago. If they're going to prosecute Trump for January 6th, then to prosecute him for Mar-a-Lago as well, the Biden episode is meaningless. But if it's only the documents, yeah, this is a complicating factor. That's how I see it. Thanks.